how's it going, everybody? I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. I am your host, Uncle D, and tonight we're going to, we've done a couple of these in the past where we've done just like maintenance and string changes and stuff, and there was a lot of people that asked about, doing it with a Floyd Rose, because just changing the strings with a Floyd Rose is, there's a little more involved in it than just changing them like on your Les Paul or something like that. So that's what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be going, oh, thanks, Rusty. We're going to be going through this. We're going to put strings on it, get it all cleaned up and stuff. When I did my little guitar show and tell, you guys didn't get to see this one. This guitar, this is one of the best like quality guitars that I own. And I used to take it out and, play live with it and stuff, but it just started really getting beat up. And I really like to use this in the studio because it's extremely quiet. The intonation is just like dead on and stuff. So I like to use this for studio work mostly. So the strings that are on it really aren't that bad, but they've been on there here for a long time, and I'm getting ready to do some recordings, so I wanted to get it all set up and ready to go. So, and also in the description for this video, there is a link that you can click on, and you can get. Hi, Leonardo. You can download a free chord chart from Guitar Control. Now I've already checked this out. It's pretty cool. It's in PDF format, and it's just laid out really nice. You can print it off. So it's like a really good resource just have sitting where, wherever you practice or whatever. So that way, any chord that you might need, at any given time, you have it there. So anyway, yeah, the link for that's in the description. So sure to get that. And without any further ado, I guess we will start tearing into this. So I am going to try adjusting my camera here. Oh, wrong way. I wish I had one of the fancy cameras that has a remote control for it. All right, so for any of you that don't know how a tremolo system works, so basically you can see the little, looks like a bolt right there, and then there's another one right here. Those are just studs that are in the body of the guitar, and then the bridge, the tremolo bridge, is actually just sitting on there. Like if you take the strings off, it'll actually just come out. So the strings are pulling it this way, and then behind here is some springs that are pulling it the other way. So when you set these things up, you have to, kind of work out this tug of war to get your bridge so it's nice and centered like this. So you can depress the strings, or you can also pull them sharp. So one of the things that makes these kind of guitars a kind of a pain in the butt is that you like right now, this is set up for being tuned down a half step, and I'm running a custom gauge of strings. So it's 9 through 46. So basically what that means is that the first 3 strings are out of a set of 9s, and then the 3 lower strings are out of a set of 10s. So that way I get kind of that real heavy sound on the low end, but then the high strings are still easy to bend and stuff like that. So this guitar is set up for that. So if I decided, oh, okay, well, I want to throw on a different gauge of strings, lighter strings or heavier strings, now you got to go through and readjust those springs in the back to make everything centered again. If you want to do drop tuning, unless you happen to have one of the ones that you can actually adjust the fine tuner enough to get it tuned down, when you unlock your nut and then tune it down that way, you still run into the same problems. So these guitars are really kind of, they're great, but they're not real versatile for if you want to do a lot of different things with it. So, yeah, so we're not going to be like adjusting that stuff in here. We're not going to be doing the, I'm not going to be adjusting the spring claw or anything. It's the same gauge strings that are going back onto it, but we're just going to get in here showing you how to do it. All right. So the first thing you're going to want to do is up here at the top, you've got this locking nut. So you're going to want to loosen that up. And since I'm changing the strings, I'm actually going to remove it. So just get your, Allen wrench. And with these things, you want to make sure that you have the correct size Allen wrench. You don't want something in there that's, like a little, like these are metric. So you wouldn't want to put in like a standard one that maybe is just a little tiny bit loose, because you'll end up stripping these bolts out, the heads of the bolts out. It's really easy to do that. So go ahead and loosen these up. And since I'm changing the strings, I'm actually going to remove them. So something to take note of when you remove them. So I just took the bolt out of there. So these the little locks, you can see that they're like flat on the bottom, and they're concave on the top. And if you look at the bottom, they're not actually flat. They're slightly got a there's a little bit of an arc in there. I don't know how well you can see that, but you want to make sure that you put it on the same way. So these particular ones here, if you look at the how they're oriented, it's got a, I guess it's pitched on the top. Think about it like it's like the roof of your house. Maybe you want to have it so that that highest point that that's a line is in line with the strings. You don't want to put it on sideways, because then it doesn't grip the strings correctly. I mean, it'll fit, but then you end up having problems. So another thing with these, and this isn't just exclusively to a Floyd Rose, it's really any guitar that has a tremolo on it. Ideally, you do not want to replace all of the strings at the same time. Like, what I mean is, you don't want to remove them all and then put them back on one at a time, because all of the strings are affected by each other. So if I'm gonna play the low E string here. You plug back in so you can hear it. So I'm going to play the low E string, but I'm going to bend the high E string, and listen what happens. Here it's going down in pitch because the bridge is floating. So if we loosen up one string, everything will go flat. So if we take them all off, then you're fighting with the tension of the springs and stuff. So it's much easier just to do them one string at a time, unless you have a lot of experience. I mean, like I could do that. I could just tear them all off, but I'm not going to do that today, because it does make it more of a pain in the butt, and it's not necessary. The only time that I ever do that is if like I'm need to do fret work, or I want to work rehydrate the or something like that. All right, so I've removed and I'm also going to take the arm off here just so it's not in my way. All right, so now I've got those removed. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen one string. So I'm just going to go ahead and start with my low E string here. This is the only guitar that I have that has a reverse headstock. So every time it always throws me off, because everything's, it's backwards. All right. So the string is off. I can't remove it out of here because I actually put the ball end on this end. Now, this isn't something that you have to do. A lot of people are like, why do you do that? That's ugly with them sticking out there. I don't know. It's just kind of always how I've done it. So now that we have that removed, dang guitar cord out of my way. There we go. Now we need to remove the string from this end. So this is where people start having issues. I'm going to put the bar back on so I can get some access. Let me adjust this camera a little bit more. Oh, wrong way. Oh, that's all she wrote, I guess. All right, I'll just scoot back a little bit. Yeah, so when you I gotta switch my glasses to my up close ones. Okay, so now here on the back, these rods that are sticking out, it's actually a bolt, and that's what's holding the string on. So you have to loosen those up. You don't take it all the way out. You just loosen it. So after you loosen it, you can see where the string is going in right there. See that little square right there? That's a little metal block. Alan, did you block it first? No, I'm just going to do one string at a time, so I'm not worried about blocking it. So what he's talking about is that you can take that cover off on the back, and then you can. What I use is I bought some popsicle sticks from a hobby store, and I just stack them on top of each other until it's just the right thickness to fit between the body of the guitar and the bridge, and then just wedge it in there, and then that holds the bridge so it can't be affected by the string movement. Okay, so this little block, I'm going to loosen it up. And I've loosened it enough that I can remove the string. Now that little block, the only thing that's holding it in there right now is gravity. If I turn the guitar over, the little block will fall out. So you want to try to avoid doing that, because those little blocks are just like guitar picks. You drop it on the floor, and then some, void opens up into an alternate universe or something, never to be seen again. Those little blocks can get lost very easily. And they also go in a certain way. If you just take this one out, I can show you. All right. So there's the little block. So on one side, it's flat, and that's the side that the string is going up against. And then on the other side, there's a little divot there, and that little divot is where that bolt lines up to. So you want to make sure that when you put it back, if you take it out for whatever reason, that when you put it back in, that you put that hole towards the back of the guitar, towards that where that bolt is. All right. So now strings. Now we talked about strings a few different times and stuff, and for the most part, strings, it's kind of just like a personal preference and stuff. I've been using these D'Addario ones for a very long time, and I've been very satisfied with them. But I had so many of you tell me that that I should be using Ernie Ball strings. So I bought some. I bought the same, they have the custom lights to the 9-3-46. And I was going to try these on here, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use these, and I'll explain why. One, I know that these are going to be great, and I'm going to have no problems, and I'm going to be using this for recording. These ones, I'll try them out on a guitar that I just play all the time. But the other reason is because I just restrung a guitar for a student a couple of days ago, and that's what he brought me was they were just a set of 10s, Ernie Ball Super Slinky, and I put them on, and I went to play the guitar today, and all the strings sound good except the low E string sounds super dead. I mean, it sounds like a flat wound string, and it's only been on there for a couple of days and maybe 5 minutes of playtime. So that didn't give me a real good first impression. Now, I'm sure that I probably got a bunk one or something, just something that, defective or whatever. Tons and tons of people use Ernie Ball strings. They can't be that bad. All right. Hi, Susan. All right. So from the comments, I can see, I got a lot of my regulars here tonight and stuff. Is there anybody new tonight? Anybody out there that this is their first time checking out one of my streams? And if so, where are you from? Let's get a little roll call. Some of these guys I've got memorized where they're from already. Jersey Red, that one's kind of a giveaway because it's Jersey's in the name. Now this is getting interesting. Which part? What is it that's getting interesting? Is it because I'm putting the strings on here? Oh, actually, I guess before we do this, we need to get, now that we've got it out of the bridge, I can go ahead and remove it from the tuner. It's Darren, upstate New York. Hi, Rich. Thanks for joining us. So this is your first time? All right. Now, like I said, you don't have to do this method that I do with having the ball end up here. You could start out with the ball end up here and then cut it off after you're done. I don't know. I've just kind of always left them like this. Now, I have seen some people, too, that will put this end with the ball end down in the bridge and then try to block it. But there's so much winding right there. It's never really worked out well for me. So I'm going to do it this way. And while I got it off, what did I do? I lost a wrench. Oh, thanks, Rich. I appreciate it. North Central Florida here. Cool. You've been on here before. I recognize your name. I'm pretty sure you've commented on some of my videos and stuff too. All right, I got to grab a wrench. All right, so just like what we did before, while I've got this off, I'm just going to go ahead and take this 10 millimeter wrench and just check to make sure that this nut holding the machine head down is tight. When you tighten these, you don't want to really crank it hard because you can crack the wood, but you don't want it to be loose in there either because it'll cause tuning issues. So I just kind of snug it up. I'm not putting very much pressure on there at all, just to kind of snug it up. All right, and since I'm doing the ball end on this end, I'm going to put the string through. And then what I do is I just get it up here, right up here to the, you can see I guess you can see the little thicker, the winding. I'm going to bring it in about right there and bend it. Okay, now we're good. There. So now I come back down here to the other end. Got to see about how much string I'm going to need. So what I like to do is, since I've got the string in the machine head, I'm going to just put it right in the slot on the nut and then just pull this down. And then I just snip the string off about right here. Yes, that is good. A 6-point socket, that's a good way too. Like I said, you don't want to put a lot of force on it. You know, just a little bit snug. All right, so now I'm ready to install this string. So I put it down, trying to get to where you can hopefully see. All right, so you can see that the block. Now I'm just going to slip the string in right in front of the block. I need to loosen it up a little bit. It looks like not quite loosened enough. And I just flung that block out. And it went into an alternate universe. Damn it. That's not good because I don't have another one. Well, I'm sure I do if I looked hard enough. All right, so now I got to get down and try to find it. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Just like I said, they go into an alternate universe. But I found it. All right. Let's try that again. And we'll see maybe if I don't drop it this time. All right, so put the block back in. Wait a minute. What is going on? Why does that? Of course, now that I'm doing this on the doing this live, I'm having all kinds of issues getting this block to drop back in there. Try it again. There we go. Okay, so now blame the blue men. They steal socks and underwear as well. Yeah. Okay. Let me do this while I sell my thought. Okay, so I've got it dropped in there. You can see the block is there. So now I'm going to take my Allen wrench, except now I've lost that. Oh, there it is. Dropped it on the floor too. Okay, so now I've got the string down in there, and now I'm going to just tighten up the bolt. Now these bolts, okay, so as you tighten it up, you want to look down. You can see there's actually a little teeny tiny groove for the string to sit in. You want to make sure that you're sitting in that and not off to the side, because I've actually patted in there wrong and then cranked the bolt down and it breaks the string. Okay, so I've got it in the right place. I've got it snugged up a little bit. Now I'm going to turn the Allen wrench around so I can get a little bit more leverage. Now, you want to be really careful that you don't over tighten these. It's really, really easy to strip the threads out in here. And some are worse than others. I did it was a Kirk Hammett signature LTD, and it was way jacked up. It was just, there was stuff stripped out on it all over the place. All right, so that's snug. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten this string up. So just like what we've done in the past, you want to keep the tension, hold the string so you're keeping tension here. You don't want it to be like this when you're tightening it. You want it to have plenty of tension. Now I've lost my string winder. The hell is going on here? Feel like I'm on candid camera. Oh, there it is. All right, and then just like what we talked about before, that when you wind the string on, you want it to start at the top and work its way down. Sure you get it into the groove. There's 2 grooves on the nut if it's a locking nut like this. All right, we're on, and we've got 2 wraps. So I always recommend that you get, try to, have at least 2 or 3 wraps. I mean, you don't need to have like the whole length of the string on there, but you don't want to just slip it through, pull it tight, and start turning it, because you want to have the string has something that it can bite onto, unless you have locking tuners. This does not have locking tuners. All right, so now that I've got this one string on and I'm not tuned yet, you hear the whole guitar. I don't know how well you can hear that. The guitar is out of tune. Because like I said, this string is affecting the other one. Since it's loose, it's allowing everything to move. All right, I ain't going to worry about that right now. I was just going to try to bring it back to show you that, but that's basically how it works. So now we're just going to do the same thing with the rest of the strings. I was going to say, providing I can find the damn tools. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the A string. Another thing I forgot to mention too is that this bridge isn't an actual Floyd Rose bridge. So if you this one's actually branded on it Jackson. So Jackson, they make a couple of different variations that are just designed after the Floyd Rose, their patent, licensed under Floyd Rose patent. And Ibanez and lots of companies do that. They make their own trem. So it doesn't matter if your guitar is equipped with a real, Floyd Rose, or just one of the, like this. The process is all basically the same thing. All right. So again, I'm going to come here. Loosen that. Remove the string. Move it from the other end so I don't keep my guitar upright, so I don't lose that little block. You're not kidding. You're not kidding about the little blue men. Believe me, I don't know if they're little blue men, but there's something for damn sure. If every guitar pick that I've been in this house for about 15 years. If every guitar pick that I've lost in this room suddenly reappeared, you guys would see me die on live camera, because the room would be completely filled up and there I wouldn't be able to breathe. Hi, Leonardo. No, this is not an Ibanez. It's a Jackson DX EMG, something like that. I can't remember the model, but it's EMG pickups. It's got the 81 and the 89 in it. Actually, no. This one's got an 81, and then I think this is a 90. that's in here in the neck position. All right, so now I grab my A string, new one, and just like what we did before, I'm going to feed it in from there. Well, first let me check that nut, if I can find the damn wrench. This one's already pretty snug. Oh, that sucks, Rusty. You could try gluing it back down. Volume in the tone spot. Yeah. I don't like, I've talked about this before, but I do not like, make sure that block didn't go away. I don't like how the volume knob is so close here because I'm always hitting it. And on a guitar like this, I never use the tone knob anyway. So I just remove the tone pot emitter and move the volume knob up here. So that way it's just out of my way. Well, yeah, it may not be. Oh, thank you, E. Parker. I'm just going to call you Parker. Thank you. Yeah, I really like it. I used to have two of these. I had a black one also that it didn't have actives in it. It had Seymour Duncan's, and I sold it in a time of desperation. Wish I still had it. But there, Rusty, you could, if you want to be able to play the guitar, you could do that. Just get some a good quality wood glue and put some in there, and then clamp it. A bunch of glue is going to come out of the where it's broken, and just kind of wipe that off and leave it clamped. Let it sit for 24 hours. You haven't got nothing to lose at this point, right? Exactly. Listen to what Rich says. It's I have lots of guitars that are, I mean, they're more or less, most people would just throw them away, but I hang on to them because I experiment with them and stuff. That's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now is that yeah, nice cigarette holder instead of a knob. You could that's big enough. I could probably just about put a little cigar in there or something too. I was going to say that. I was going to say blunt holder, and I was like, I don't know if I should say that. But I'm just reading what you said, Parker. Okay, so now when I go to put this string on, I don't want to measure it the same way that I did before because it it's in a different location. It's closer. Well, actually, this one, it just doesn't move enough. I think that'll be fine if we do it that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the same cut. I'm just going to bring the string up and just cut it where it meets this part of the bridge right there. Now, this measurement, like I'm doing here, may not be this. It could be different on other guitars. So don't just take this as just how you do it. You want to make sure you have the right amount of length. If you have too much, then you get like a big mess up on the headstock, and if you don't have enough, then the string will slip. All right, so I slip it in there again. I've got it so it's sitting in that little notch. I'm tighten the bolt up a little bit. Come around this way. And again, not too much, not too tight. Yeah, this reverse headstock thing's kind of a pain in the butt, especially, well, I guess it's a pain in the butt for, whoops, for what I'm doing here because I'm trying to show you guys. All right, and again, you want it, the wrap starting at the top and working its way downward, keeping that tension up here. All right, so I'm just going to start just getting this ready to do the rest of them. I don't want to run out of time like we usually end up doing. So now I'm working with my D string. Oh, here's another thing too. I guess it's worthy to point out. See these bolts here? That's actually what holds the saddles down. So when you set the intonation on one of those things, you loosen those up and then you actually have to move these things. Setting the intonation up on one of these things is one of the biggest pains in the ass you will ever experience in your life. But once they're set up, they're good to go. So my advice for you is that if you're buying a brand new guitar that's already equipped with one of these, don't mess with it because I have yet to get one that the intonation wasn't already set well. If you buy a used one, you never know what you're going to get. But setting the intonation on these things is a massive pain in the keister for sure. This process is also oh, you've never seen the Floyd Rose system before, Rich? And my name is Darren, not Danny. That Stratocaster that I've had a couple times, and people, you guys have asked, oh, is that a Floyd Rose one? It's got a Kaler spider. It's a more or less very similar to the Floyd Rose in how you change the strings. The only difference is that it doesn't have that little block holding the string. The block is like permanently attached to the end of the bolt. So it makes it a little bit easier. You haven't got anything to lose that way. All right, so now these ones. Oh, you're totally fine, Rich. You're totally fine. Just call me Uncle D. Okay. So now here doing my D string. Again, same thing. I'm going to check that tight. So far, the only one that was loose was just that the low E string was loose. The other ones have been already tight. Uncle D it is. Yeah, I'm surprised out of all the times that I've done these that nobody has ever asked what is up with Uncle D. Where did that come from? Because wasn't it wasn't me. It wasn't my idea to do that. All right. So same thing again here. So, what is Uncle D? Well, when sorry, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. When I first started working for Guitar Control, well, actually, that could have came before I started working for Guitar Control. But anyway, the guy that's the head honcho at Guitar Control, Claude, he started calling me that when we'd have like meetings and stuff. He'd just say Uncle D, and because I'm older, it was like kind of the joke. I'm the oldest guy, that works there, and it just kind of stuck. It just kind of got thrown into this stuff, and I don't know. It's I've had worse nicknames, so it's all right. All right. So while I'm doing these last three strings here, does anybody have I can attempt to to walk and chew gum at the same time and try to answer your questions and stuff. So as usual, this is like Q&A. So does anybody have any questions? Not even necessarily about this, but just like guitar related questions in general that maybe I could try to answer while I'm finishing this up. Older, youngin. Well, and the thing that was funny is that was also like 10 years ago that he gave me that nickname. So, I'm a little older now. About 10 years older, I guess, huh? All right. And what do you guys think of this type of content of doing these kinds of stuff for live streams? Because I've done stuff where I've just like taught riffs or taught stuff with scales, taught songs, things like that, and then we've done these. What do you guys like? Because I mean, I'm open to suggestions for things that you'd like to have covered in these. Have I ever been called a monkey's uncle? Yeah, probably. Yeah, Rich. It's so the Floyd Rose. It's more or less just like on it, like if you've seen like an old school Stratocaster, it's just got a it's just got the little tremolo bar. What the difference with this is it's fully floating, so you can actually pull sharp and go flat, and then with the locking nut, it helps to prevent it from going out of tune. Because when you dive bomb and the strings become loose, they can slip on the machine heads, and then when you come back up, the guitar's out of tune. So being able to lock the nut down, is supposed to help that in theory. see. Sergio, in advance of the last string you change, someone told me it's a good idea to wrap more turns than the others because in case you break your first string, always happens next to the saddle. Yeah, you definitely could do that. And on the strings that aren't wound like these, I mean, you can literally put the entire length of the string. You could have, 10 or 12 wraps, and it's, since it's not, the diameter of the string is so small, it's not going to take up a bunch of space. So I kind of already do that, not really with that in mind. Generally, if I break a string, I just replace it. But I have had to do that before. That Stratocaster with the Kahler, the very first show I played with that guitar, I busted the high E string, and a friend of mine was being guitar tech, and so I handed it to him. I grabbed my backup guitar, and that's what he did. Is he just unwound it and put more of the string in and clamped it down. Yeah, Sergio. Yeah, definitely. So on these, like right now, I'm putting the G string on, and I'm not going to cut any of the excess string off. I'm just going to wind the entire thing on there. Oh, let me check to make sure that nut is tight. Yep, that one's good to go too. So for whatever reason, just my low E string was loose. Sorry about the really crappy camera angles and stuff. I got to try to think of a better way for when I do things like this. Yeah, but if you like the content, like what I was just talking about, whether it be songs or riffs or things like this, if you like the content, hit that, thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, things like that. That all really helps to show them that what I'm doing is valuable to you, and that you want to continue to see the content. The dime bag arm and the Kerry King arm. I like that. That's right. Kerry King does. He does use Kahler, or at least he used to. I remember seeing advertisements for it. Oh, great, Leonardo. I appreciate that. God, maybe I should have cut some of this off. Oh, you've watched a few times now. Helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know what to call you, so I'm just going to call you Freedom. See, we're all going to have nicknames. But if I'm Uncle D, then I guess that makes all of you my nephews. All right. Got two more to go. So, you guys have any ideas for content then that you'd like to see? Some of the things that I have been recently thinking about doing for content aside, more, this kind of stuff. But I was also thinking about maybe doing one about improvising. Improvisation seems to be a subject that there's a lot of interest in, from my personal end and with my private students, is that I would say 80% of the people that contact me, that's what they always talk about, is that they want that they want to learn how to improvise, how to improvise a guitar solo over a backing track. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. Improv and how it goes hand in hand with playing up and down the neck. Okay, yeah. So if that's something that you guys would be into, then I would be totally down for doing that. All right, just for the sake of time, I'm just going to hurry and do these two together. Oh, you won't be around tomorrow night? I may not be around tomorrow night. Who knows? I plan on being here. I planned on being here Wednesday last week too, but it just didn't work out. So my apologies, but sometimes, as they say, stuff happens. You never played an exact riff, and that allowed you to create and not imitate. Is that what that's saying? Because if that's what you mean, and I kind of understand what you mean by that. I know how to play very, very few guitar solos. Sorry, I had a string in my mouth. I never really was into like sitting down and like learning a lot of other people's solos. I mean, I learned a lot of Tony Iommi stuff when I very first started, and then a couple of Jimmy Page things. But for the most part, I will just go through and pick out like certain, if there's like a certain lick or something that I hear that I really want to be able to play, I'll do that. But for the most part, I really don't. I would rather put more effort into my own stuff, into creating my own things, than just being able to, play somebody else's stuff. But, there are certain things that I have learned, but for the most part, that's just not really my thing. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Rusty. Yeah, I kind of do the same thing. When I used to play in a lot of cover bands, I used to actually get a lot of criticism and stuff over it because I would like just improvise the solos, unless it was a song where the solo was, there are certain songs that the guitar solo is just as much of a part of the song as the lyrics are. So one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is the solo for Detroit Rock City by Kiss. That solo is so much part of the song that if you don't play it, it just doesn't sound right. But there's lots of other stuff that I've just kind of winged it or whatever. It was actually kind of funny. I'll try to catch like the spirit of the solo as I improvise. I'll try to do certain things that kind of sound like, what was originally done. I used to be in this this band that was a Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden tribute band. And we were playing a show one time, and this band from Trinidad was playing, and they were big Iron Maiden fans. And when we got done playing, the singer, who was also the guitar player, came up to me and told me that he just can't imagine how many countless hours I must have spent trying to be able to imitate Dave Murray. And I just kind of laughed, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I didn't play anything exactly right, but I did play them enough to kind of catch the spirit of the solo. Like when we do Run to the Hills, I would use the wah because he uses a wah on it, but I didn't do it. I never sat down and actually learned exactly what he was doing. All right, putting on the last one now. All right, just got to wind this one on, and we're golden. Almost there. I don't think I checked neither one of these. I'm just going to check them now. All right, those are snug. Yeah, it was just the low E string was loose for whatever reason. All right, so as soon as I get this one on here, then we're going to go through the process of tuning, which on these is kind of a pain in the butt. But this isn't going to be too bad because, like I said in the beginning, I'm not changing. It's the same string gauge that I had on here before, and I'm also tuning it to the same tuning. So all right. So now we've got it on here where it sounds beautiful, right? All right, so now we got to tune her up. So this guitar is tuned down a half step. It's there we go. I knew something was wrong. because this is the guitar I use in my band, and we play tuned down a half step. All right, so D sharp on my low E, G sharp for my A string, C sharp for my D string, F sharp for my G string, A sharp for the B string, and another D sharp for the high E. Okay, so now that I've done that, when I go back here to back, we're not in tune because all we're doing is we're pulling the bridge up. So now I'm going to come back down, and I am, instead of being D sharp, I'm almost D. So it lost quite a bit just from tightening the other strings up. So start over, D sharp, G sharp, C sharp, F sharp, A sharp, D sharp. Now I come down here again, and we're flat again. So you just have to keep going through this process. Getting closer. We are about there. We're just about got it. All right, so we're in tune. Now, just like when we did this on the Strat, and we didn't do it on the Strat, we did it on like a Les Paul and I think one of those Spear guitars too. So we're going to do the same thing like we've done before. We're gonna kind of pre-stretch the strings a little bit, just grasping each one. If you would use the Ernie's, tension could be different, can be different from brand to brand, even the same. I'm not sure what you're referring to. What I'm talking about is that, like, if you set up a guitar with a floating tremolo like this, you set it up just for standard tuning, and then you put on a heavier gauge string or a lower gauge string, or you decide you want to tune down a half step or a whole step or in drop tuning, it screws everything up. So you have to go through and readjust your claw and all. That's a big pain in the butt. So this guitar, that's all this thing does, is just plays in just a half step down. All right, so now I'm going to tune again. Almost there again. All right, so now we're in tune. Okay. I know what you meant for the strings, the slinkies, but I don't know. I didn't want to put them on here because of that problem I had with the guitar. I put them on the other day, but I am going to put them on probably the scratched iron guitar because the strings on there are dead. I'll probably put them on there, and then to try to get a feel for it. Okay, so now that I have put I've got the guitar in tune, now I'm going to put the blocks back here for the locking nut. So, whoa. Oh, God. I hate doing this with the mouse. It's such a pain in the butt. Okay, so just like I said, on these particular ones, the way these ones are designed, that line there, like I said, it's like a house. You want that so it's in line with the strings. So you're just going to put each one on and just screw it in finger tight. These are really easy to strip out too, just like the bolts at the bridge. But the thing with these ones is if you strip them out, you can just run down to Guitar Center and buy them. It's dumb is that you have to have two and they come in package, or you have to have three and they come in a package of two. Okay. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to tighten these down. And again, you don't need to tighten them down. Like, don't really crank them down. Just snug. And then if you catch one that's slipping or whatever, then you can go a little bit snugger. Now, by putting these on and tightening them down, the guitar is going to be out of tune again, because what happens is that when those are twisting in there, it's like pulling on the string a little bit. So that's why here on the bridge, it's got these little knobs here. These are actually fine tuners. So you can turn these, if you turn it clockwise, it tightens up the string, brings it up in pitch. If you why does it keep doing this? Okay, there we go. If you God, yeah, you can hear it. See, it's just a little bit out of tune. So at that point, you just tune it again. But now you're going to tune it with the fine tuners. When you've got this, that's another thing too, is if you've got the nut locked and then you try tuning these, you'll break the strings. Done it many times when I first had guitars like this. So it didn't knock it out of tune like a whole lot. I mean, these are, they call them fine tuners because it's just a very small amount of adjustment. All right, we are back in business. So now everything works the way that it's, or not everything works. See, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. Everything's hooked back up. Everything's back the way that it should be. So another thing that this doesn't really have anything to do with changing the strings or anything, but this is just kind of just some good information to have, is that, see, I'm in tune, but now if I do dive bomb and then I just come back, it's a little bit flat. So what I do is, if I do it when I come back, is I just barely tug back on it. Don't, pull it sharp. That will ensure that everything stays centered. All right, so that's basically all there is to it. I am going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit because it has been sitting. I'm going to actually, when I get done, I'm going to put it in my vault so it doesn't get all dirty. But this thing has been sitting for a long time. The last time that I used it would have been when we recorded our last album. So like 3 years ago. So it's been sitting for quite a while. Just get some of this mega gunk off of here. I really like this color. This is the gunmetal gray. I just think this looks really, really nice. So since I didn't take all the strings off at the same time, it's kind of hard to get in between the, in between the pickups and stuff. So I usually just take my polish rag and just kind of stick it under the strings. You can actually just depress them a little bit with the whammy, and good God. There we go. So that way I can get in there and get all the crap that builds up between the pickups. That's like one of the dirtiest places. Same up here on the headstock, right in between the tuners. It's always, any place that you can't really get to is where all the gunk likes to get built up. All right, that's good enough. I'm not really super concerned about it. I'm not going out performing with it or anything, but when I pick it up, I don't want it to feel like I have to wash my hands after I pick it up. All right. Oh, and we are way over. Yeah, pick dust area, exactly. Yeah, so that's basically it. All right, all done. Ready for the studio. I'm gonna put it in my vault because I won't be really using it right now. So yeah, so that's basically it on how to change the strings on a Floyd Rose. You can see it took me considerably longer to do that than a regular guitar. I mean, if I wasn't trying to, if I was actually working at my bench and not trying to do it on my lap like this, it would have been faster. But it takes a lot longer to do it on something like this than it does like on a Les Paul or something. All right. So again, I'd like to thank everybody that came out tonight. I really appreciate you being here and stuff. If you like the content, leave a comment, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. I try to be here every Tuesday and Wednesday, whenever possible. And I also have 2 or 3 just regular YouTube videos that they publish throughout the week too. Like I think the last one that was on Sunday. Probably will be a new one tomorrow, would be my guess. But yeah, so if you have ideas or suggestions for content for the live streams or just YouTube lessons in general, leave them in the comments. I always read that stuff. I like to, provide the content that you guys are, that you're into. And like I said in the beginning, there's a link in the description where you can get that free chord chart, get that printed off. It's really, really useful to have, just at a glance, so you can, if there's a certain chord that you need, boom, you got it right there. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Well, hopefully I'll be here tomorrow. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night.